Hello and welcome to another tutorial for the Lidc Multiboxing software. In this video, I'm going to show you how to use the Layout Designer to define the size and position of your game windows. You can access the Layout Designer from the Layout page. Here you have two options. Both of these options provide you with the same tools to help you design your layout, but they have one major difference. The first one includes a preview of your monitor within a window, and you can design your layout within that preview. The second option uses your entire monitor as the design area, and you can place your game windows using the real size they will have when you play. Now during this video, I'm going to do the following three things. First, I'm going to use the windowed option of the Layout Designer to create this layout. Then I'm going to use the full screen option to create this layout. And finally, I'm going to run all clients and show you how to activate those layouts and switch between them. And with that said, let's get started. First, let's open the Layout Designer. To do that, click on the Layout Designer button. Okay, so the settings in this window are divided into sections depending on what they control. First, at the top right corner, you have the Layout Settings. This is where you manage your layouts. The list at the top will contain all the layouts you create, and you can use the Add and Delete buttons to add new layouts or remove old ones that you don't need anymore. So, click on Add to create your first layout and give it a name. This list, just below the name field, allows you to copy this layout from another layout that you have already created. So if you want to create a similar layout with only a few changes and don't want to design it from scratch, then you can use this feature. Right now we don't have any layouts yet, so it's of course empty. Next you have the layout hotkey. If you specify a key here and press that key while playing, then this layout will be activated. So if you have created multiple layouts and want to switch between them while playing, you can just use their assigned hotkeys. Just below that, there is the Exclude Windows taskbar setting. Right now, the design area here represents your entire monitor. However, if you enable this setting, then the design area will be reduced in order to exclude the part where your taskbar is located. Next, you have the Remove Borders setting. If you enable this setting, then all the borders and caption bar will be removed from the game windows that have been included in this layout. The next section is where you can add new characters to this layout. This list includes all the characters you have added in the software, and you can use the Add Character button to place a character in the design area. Once a character has been placed, it can be moved around and resized using the selection controls. The next section contains the selection settings. The list at the top of this section includes all the characters that are included in this layout, and the one selected here at the moment is the same as the one selected in the design area. Once a character has been selected, you have some options. First, the Remove Character button to the right removes the selected character from the layout, and it makes it available again in the Add Characters list. Next, the position and size controls, just below, will show you the top left coordinates of your selection, and also its width and height in numeric values. These settings provide you with the ability to place your selection with some more accuracy than you would have otherwise if you were just using your mouse. Just below that, you have the Move Monitor option and a list of all the monitors that are currently present in your system. If you choose another monitor here, then the selected character will be moved to that monitor. Finally, the last of the selection settings contain the picture-in-picture controls, which allow you to display an area from a game window directly onto another game window. However, I'm not going to talk about that now, but instead I will make another video specially for this feature. I will put a link for that video in the description below. For now, let's move on to the second monitor to add the rest of the characters. To do that, click on the second monitor icon just below the design area and add your characters in the same way you did for the first monitor. One thing I would like to point out here is that when you add a character to the design area, its default size is exactly 1/4 of that area. This just happens to be convenient in this case because that's exactly the size I need for this part of this layout. Finally, we can move on to the last section of the designer, which contains the grid and designer settings. If you need the grid overlay to help you with your design, then you can turn on the Show Grid setting and define your own spacing values in the fields provided below. Alternatively, you can also use one of the predefined templates to split the grid evenly by a number of rows and columns of your choice. Right next to that, there is the Snap to Grid setting. And when this is enabled, it will force your selection to snap to the grid intersections when you're resizing your selected character. Next, you have the Snap to Client setting. If you enable this, then your selection will snap to the sides of other clients in the same way it does for the Snap to Grid setting. This is very useful when you need to stack clients side by side and want to make sure that you don't leave any gaps between them. Next, the Show Game Art setting pretty much explains itself, and when enabled, you can see some game art representing your game windows instead of just a blue square. The settings to the right are related to the picture in picture feature, and therefore I'm going to skip these for now and talk about them in the video that will be done specially about this feature. Last but not least is the Sync Running Client setting. When you enable this setting, any clients that are already running will be updated automatically when you make changes to the layout. Let's run a client and see how this works. So I have now run my first client and I will activate the Sync Running Client setting. Now as you can see, when I resize this character in the Layout Design area, the client for this character is resized as well. Also, if I now change the Remove Border setting, the client's border are updated automatically as well. Resuming from where we left off, you can now click on the Save button to save your first layout, and then click on Close to exit the designer. Back in the layout page, you can see the layout you just created in the list, along with a small preview. Now let's create the second layout using the Full Screen Designer. To begin, first click on the Full Screen Designer button. When using this option, all the tools that you need to help you design your layout are provided in the Layout Toolkit. The toolkit includes all the same settings as the Layout Designer that we went through earlier in this video, and you can move it around your screen to any position you like. Right now, the first layout that I just created is automatically selected, so just click on Add to create a new one, and then enable any settings you want to use for this layout. Now you can click on the Add Character button to add your characters, and once they are added, you can select them and move them around using the selection controls. For this layout, I want to place my 4 slave characters in small windows to the right side of my screen, so I have pre-calculated their size, and I'm going to use these values as my grid spacing in order to help me place them on the screen. Once a client has been added, I can select it and drag the selection corners until they snap to the appropriate grid intersections. As for my main character, I could resize it to fill the rest of the screen, but I prefer its size ratio to be the same as my slave characters, so I'm just gonna make it just 3 times bigger than those. Great, this layout is now complete as well, so you can just click on the Save button to save this layout and close to exit the designer. Back in the layout page, you can see that the second layout has also been added to the list, along with its own preview. Now let's see how to actually use these layouts. Right now, no layout is active, as it is also indicated in the status bar at the bottom. This means that if I run the game now, each window will be unaffected. So to activate a layout, you can double click on it in the layout list, or alternatively you can select it using the layout menu in the characters page. Now let's run the game and see what happens. To run all clients, click on the Run button, and then click on Run All. Okay, so all clients have now been launched and positioned according to the active layout. Now let's try to switch to another layout. Before I do that, let me switch my camera so you can see both my monitors at the same time. To switch the layout, I will use the layout menu and pick another layout from the list. So I have now selected the first layout, and now back again to the second layout. Another way to do this is by using the hotkeys assigned to these layouts. So I can just minimize leads to the system tray and just press those keys on my keyboard instead. Before I finish this tutorial, let me show you a quick and easy way to edit your layout while playing. First, go to the Layout page and click on the Layout Settings button to the right. Here you can assign a hotkey for the full screen option of the Layout Designer. Then you can just keep leads minimized to the system tray and use that hotkey to open the Layout Designer. Make any changes you want to your layout, and then just click on the Close button and yes to the confirmation to save your changes. And with that said, you're now ready to start designing your own layouts. So that's all for today. If you liked this video and would like to see more videos like this, please like and subscribe, and I will see you again in the next tutorial for the Lidc Multiboxing software.